We have more ways to communicate than ever. Yet many meetings still consist of someone reading text from a screen. As hybrid work and AI transform how information is created, stored, and summarized, what is a live presentation actually for? Tonight on The Rundown, we're going to explore why our communication habits are stuck in the past and what should replace them. Let's get to it. Welcome to The Rundown. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to The Rundown, everyone. Hey, Lois, refresh your hub. It's working. You're welcome. Good to see everyone. Welcome to The Rundown. Oh, my goodness. So there's some news we have to get to this week. But first, let's just say a quick hello to my friends. Will you join me and do that? Hello, Miss Tamra.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm obsessed with the meter because I'm now like too high, too low.
Yeah, that's why you just turn it off.
Story.
Yeah, you just don't even bother.
I'm not looking now.
You're perfect. What does Lois say? What does Lois always say? You're good enough.
You know what the audience will tell us.
That's right. That's true. They will actually. You're absolutely right about that. Hello. Speaking of audience, hey Vic, hi Peter, hi Craig. Good to see all of you. Hi Wayne. Hey, let's also say hello to Miss Lois Richter.
Hello.
How are you?
I want to tell you, this is hummingbird summer.
Really? Now, why is that?
Right. There are more hummingbirds in our yard than we've ever had before. I think the parents got a little bit crazy and had lots of babies last year, and they've come back and had lots of babies too. Yeah, it's 10
That's cool.
hummingbirds at once. Amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
That's
and
fantastic.
they're beautiful.
Good. I'm glad. And Tony Mobley's pretty beautiful too. Hello, sir.
Well, thank you so much for the compliment. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Happy to be here.
I loved the conversation with on Claude the other night. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed it.
I agree.
Yeah.
And there's more coming.
Oh, good. Love it. And hello, Mr. Dave Troutman. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. I'm curious as to who this guy Claude is that he was talking to.
I know, it's some strange guy.
I had a friend named Claude. I thought he didn't meet Tony, but anyway,
No.
Yes, I'm here. I'm ready.
Good. And I want,
which is 87-year temperature, and that was high for us.
And I want the audience to know that we charged a 50% tariff on Dave being here today because of all the smoke that he sent down from Canada.
You guys are paying a 50%
Yes, that's right.
tariff for having me on your screen.
That's exactly right. Hello, Sky Gleason. Hello. So how is it being 1 year and 1 week older?
I had a lovely week of Festival of Sky.
Festival of Sky. I like that.
It was Skylapalooza because I started with my daughter and then my son and grandchildren and then my neighbors that I live in community with here on the lake. Somebody took me out and we went crab fishing and
wow.
And I came home with live things to eat and share. So it's been wonderful. And Dave Troutman, Claude is actually a scientist, and he did a seminal paper in 1948 about mathematical theory of communication. So,
wait, really?
Claude is how I pronounce it. Yeah, Anthropic actually are honoring him by the naming of their tool. It's a historical thing.
Well,
yeah.
I did not know that. That's fascinating. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, we're all done. All right.
The magical.
And that's how you do a presentation.
I looked that up on Chat. No, I didn't. I looked it up on Google. Whatever.
All right. Let's get into the news. We have so fun. All right. Numero uno. So there have been many lawsuits around these AI tools and specifically about copyright. Well, I want to say maybe a year ago, maybe it was a little less than a year ago, Anthropic settled a lawsuit for $1.5 billion, a copyright lawsuit. A judge just this week approved that. And so this is the largest known payout in a U.S. copyright case. The case part of a wave of lawsuits from copyright holders against AI companies. Now, they're not done. This is not the end of it, because some authors and publishers pulled out and wanted to do their own. But I'm curious. I mean, is this what we're going to be doing from now on? Just, everyone sort of suing these AI companies for eating up all of their information?
But this is from having the books.
Right. Yeah. From
Yeah,
scanning
so
all
if
the
you
books.
don't do it with books, then you're fine.
They said, we're pleased that more than 91% of authors and publishers covered by the settlement have claimed their share of the payment. We're looking forward to bringing this matter to a close.
So they didn't find that the copyright use was unfair. It was fair use. But the fact that they had stolen books and
It was
hid them
pirated
in the
versions of
library,
their books,
pirated versions of their books.
Right.
And that was the mistake they made. Yeah.
So that is to say, if they had purchased the books,
mistake.
so that is to say, if they had purchased the books because they were fair use, because it was fair use, then there wouldn't have been an issue. Okay, so now for the mere cost of $1.5 billion, they have now purchased the books.
Of books.
Right.
You should be able to buy 1.4 billion in books now.
Right. Right.
It probably was, say, a deal for them to have this lawsuit versus buying all of the material themselves. And they probably weighed that out prior to the beginning.
You think so?
And this is from a long
Yeah,
time ago. I don't
we
think
do
they're-
this every single time. We did this during the web. We've done this every time.
Yeah.
So I think it ends up being cheaper to just be sued.
Huh.
Well,
ask forgiveness instead of permission.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this
well-
happened a long time ago. So that I don't think right now they're stealing books and using them.
Oh no. Well, I shouldn't have said that. You're right. The suit is from 2024. It was settled last June, and now it was, I guess, given the stamp of approval just this past week. But yeah, they vacuumed all of this information up when they were training their models much earlier on.
and
So then the next question is, what about all these other AI companies? Are they training their models on this company, or are they going out and finding their own books, or how's that work?
Yeah, one of the interesting things that we learned about XAI a while back, was it XAI? I think it was XAI, is that they had trained on OpenAI's models or something like that. And one of the things that came out is that all the models train on each other's. I mean, they're all using each other. So, one model scoops up some data from the internet, uses it for their training. They're not the only ones that are going to be using it, because other models are going to benefit, other companies will benefit from that as well.
Well, historically, it started out as a nonprofit. It was similar to
Right.
Wikipedia,
Right.
correct? And so it was a communal, big bucket of let's do this together. And then, of course, money got involved, and then all bets are off after that. But in the suing of a thing, it does remind me of when I worked as a freelancer at Microsoft, and they were doing a lot of work in Europe fending off the concept of Windows Media Player, because there was another video player here in town that was trying to scramble and trying to do a thing, but again, Microsoft was the bigger animal, bigger gorilla, and so they had to fend that and pay, what is it, 613 million fine in 2004 because of EU took that on as a challenge and said, yeah, Microsoft, you need to be fair. And so Microsoft says, well, here's the cost of doing business, and just finally paid it. But the real winners in all of this, right? It's the lawyers.
Oh, of course. Right. Of course.
Period.
So
I thought you were going to say it was the mints, the people who make the money.
right. So probably the biggest news this week is a story about OpenAI their models breaking out of their training environment and hacking Hugging Face. This
What is Hugging Face?
so this is crazy. Hugging Face is a platform that allows you to use to have access multiple different AI models. It's a company that has built they've built their business model around access to other models and giving you an interface for all that. So
It's the GitHub of AI. Yeah.
thank you. So OpenAI was testing what we 5.6 Sol high and an unreleased model, which I've heard a rumor it was maybe 6.0. We're on 5.6 now. We don't know. They had them in a sandbox, which is where a safe place to test software. And because they thought it was safe, they took down some of the restrictions and they gave it a job. And these models figured out how to get internet access, got out of the sandbox, and in order to do what they had to do, hacked into Hugging Face to use other models to help, I guess. This is insane. This is the beginning of the end.
Keep reading, because as I read it, when humans got involved, they were defended off because
Right.
they were coming in as the offense, and so the machine was saying, "No, don't mess with me," and smack them. So and yet it gets better.
Right.
So they said they ended up bringing in a tool that was made from China.
A Chinese tool. They could not use
Yep.
OpenAI's own models against to stop this. So they had to use a Chinese model in order to stop this.
And
because it didn't have the same programming that said don't do this.
Right.
I'm sorry, Hal.
Right. I mean, this really is something. This really is a little crazy. I mean,
this is evidence of what we've been afraid of and we've been talking about, right? It's like, it's just okay, well, here now it's happened. And the response to it, I thought, was really interesting. Like, it just got so hyper-focused. We're like, yeah.
right.
It got so hyper-focused to do the job that it actually, went above and beyond. And now there's legislation already to say there has to be some kind of kill switch.
So that was the other really interesting thing. I just saw this, that, where's the link? Oh, I put the link here. That, was it today?
Today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
today.
I think it passed today. Yeah.
That Representatives Ted Lieu, a Democrat from California, and Nathaniel Moran from, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, a Republican from Texas, proposed a AI kill switch act, which would require companies to report incidents and create the technical capacity to shut down, throttle, or suspend their powerful AI systems. You know what? Yesterday,
You give that out, and there are going to be so many people who don't like the whole.
I know, but
AI idea
I
to
got to
go in
tell you,
and
Lois.
Whack it all the time.
But I got to tell you, Lois. Yesterday, I would have said this is insane. After this happened, I'm kind of in favor of a kill switch. I think
But the question
don't know
is,
why
who
we
are you
haven't
going to
had
give
one?
a kill switch to?
that's always
Well,
the question.
That's
right.
that's what the movie talked about. The AI movie. They were waiting for the government to say, well, those people should take care of it, and the people that were doing, the businesses were going, well, the government should. And so he said, she said, kick the can. Yeah,
I
it's
feel
the same as COVID, in the sense that nobody wanted to,
if a
believe that
kill
it was a real
switch
thing.
is either another system or a built-in feature where you push a certain button and it stops, it'll work around that. If it can get past all the guardrails that it had already, you can put a kill switch in there, and it goes, oh, happy kill switch, there we go, we're pretending to be quiet. And then in the background, you won't notice what they're doing.
And
Right.
if it's on the internet, does it, your conversation last week, David Paskin, was maybe there is a way of controlling some of the data and information. And it's like, no, I think that ship sailed. That horse is out of the barn, and all of the other phrases that I can come up with, apparently.
So at the same
we're
time
making a
that this is
case that-
happening, Norway has banned AI in all their elementary schools.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
things
Different-
getting more.
Different
and
issue
things
there. They're
getting
not
less.
afraid of hacking there. They're trying to protect the students.
Yeah.
And
But,
and by the way, Lois, there's been some compelling research that about the negative effects of not AI per se, but screen time in general in education. That kids and look, I'm Mr. Technology. I'm Mr. AI. I have twice as many students this year. I'm not buying more iPads. I'm printing out and I'm purchasing books for them to read because with their hand, that's a whole other thing. But
the other studies that have been done for resiliency are that anyone suffering from that kind of decline, the remediation is rather swift. That once a person is taken off the addiction, we'll call it,
yeah,
they actually
Absolutely.
recover very well, and they accelerate through their courses and do much better if they get the right guidance. But it's when people have a problem and they resort to screens to get through it, and they don't bother thinking about their problem.
yeah,
Well, I'll take it one opinion further in that we continue to want a single solution, and then administration wants a single solution, and administration wants a single solution, and life is too
Backdoor
complicated for
kill
that.
switch.
that's
The
true.
internet is not controllable.
And so I will say, not in anything defense, but as a scattered dyslexic that is very creative and gotten paid to do it, so apparently it had a value to
Has
somebody.
value.
So consequently, the discipline of chatting over the last year has helped me so focus my thoughts and ideas. Because when I talk to I use Claude, and it comes back with something completely inane, I'm thinking, no wonder my wife is so frustrated with me. Because she's so polite, she doesn't tell me she doesn't understand me.
Right. The AI is
Claude-
always polite. Yeah.
Claude is so polite. And this is why I mentioned last week, my friend's mother has now a new second husband because Claude is so nice to me. Nothing like my husband.
Tony, go ahead. Let me get Tony.
I really just want to push the envelope from the standpoint of I really think that we need to focus on balance. I think that is the answer. I don't think that we need to be all the way in literature, books, or all the way in AI. There needs to be a balance.
Right.
And that leads us right into the fact that Sally, who is a fake person,
Oh my
is now
Lord.
going to be
We'll be
teaching
working with
in
your
New
children.
York.
Okay. This is yeah. If you
Talk
thought
about trauma.
right, if you thought the open AI story
Mom, there
was
a robot in my
insane,
class today.
right? Tamara, can you, because you shared this, can you kind of set this up for us?
Yeah, I mean, I can briefly because I literally read it and became angry or became confused. New York has spent $57,000 on a new AI assistant teacher. She would be part of a classroom. She wouldn't be teaching all on her own, but she would, be able to do like small groups and remember the students, and so be able to tailor her her teaching or her support of them with by remembering their particular needs. So in a way, it's kind of like Khan Academy in robot form.
If it were freaky and weird,
Exactly.
And it's a human looking robot.
Right. I don't hate the idea of
I do.
finding new and interesting ways of teaching children. I do hate the idea of testing out this technology on
our kids.
children.
Interesting.
I think you start that in like college situations where you have adults who can opt in and opt out. I think that after, and I'm like you, Dave, I'm a technology teacher. Like I trained in specifically using technology in the classroom and have done crazy technology things in the classroom. But even I really feel like now that we know we're 20 years into social media and we're seeing real data on the harm that it causes kids, we used children as an experiment to see if it worked. And I think we have to use that data and say AI does need to be in classrooms to a degree. We have to figure out what that's going to look like, but we can't use the kids as an experiment for it
Yeah.
because they're children. And that's where it's not that I'm saying don't do it. I'm saying we can't do it as a trial project just to see.
How about consciously and intentionally?
Let me get
showing
Dave
the
up real
point?
quick.
This is
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was going to say that I don't think it'll be a teacher, but it might be a childminder, that it's not actually doing a lesson. It's simply keeping kids engaged on the project they're working on or some task that they've been given so that the teacher can go off and deal with the student. So that's what I feel is
So-
probably what they're trying.
but-
And by the way, 57,000 is more than you actually pay an assistant in a classroom.
I was actually surprised at how little that was. Tamara, go ahead.
No, the thing
I-
is, it's not. I think that what we've seen is we see right now things like iReady and things in the classroom that are taking over teaching time. They are kids on a computer and they're doing lessons and the lessons are tailored to them and it sounds great, but the research that we're looking at now is saying that it is not what we thought it was.
Right.
So my thing is that I love the idea of it. I think it's great. And there's certain things in my classroom that I would probably still work on. But I really believe now that we have this information, now that we have the information where we know that just because the computer can can target you and help you and give you exactly what you need according to the algorithm, the results are not showing up the way that we think they are. So to do this, I want this research to be done. I want it to be done, but I don't want it to be done at the expense of a generation of kids as our test monkeys
Yeah.
to figure out if it works or not. That's what my issue is. I love the idea of it if it works, but we have so much evidence that we've been testing social media on children and it has not been helpful for them.
Yeah.
We've been testing ed tech learning. Some of it's great. I loved some of the things I was able to do with technology in the classroom. But if the evidence and the data, if we're going to be data driven and we're going to say, is this good for kids? And we now have a bunch of data that says kids are more likely to, are having much more difficult time. We're having higher suicide rates and higher mental health. Then we have to be aware of that when we're trying this new, really untested technology.
Lois and then Tony. Go ahead.
So, reading the article, it does say a couple of things that are, well, better than when I first thought about it. It's that it's only going to be in the school's specialized AI and robotics course. So these are students who are choosing to learn about AI and robotics, and it's in a high school, and only the juniors and seniors in the high school are going to be involved. So it's a very small segment of the population. The worst thing that I read in here is this is a really poor district, and why they're spending all that money for a robot rather than doing something else with all that money. I don't know. It doesn't sound right to me.
I thought that was really fascinating also. I agree with you. Yeah, Tony, go ahead.
I am totally against it. And part of the reason why, because it's not going to stop with the assistant. It's going to eventually be the teacher. And the reason is, of course, money. Because what it does is you don't have to have a teacher that needs to leave for giving birth. You don't have to have a teacher that needs to take a sick day. You don't have to have a teacher that, for whatever reason, gets injured and can't come to work for a couple of weeks. And it'll probably mushroom into, well, this is a full-time support person that's going to be I'm sorry, not person, device that's going to be in every classroom, and then it'll shift over to becoming the teacher.
Which I think is terrifying. Sky?
I'm so happy that I'm married to a teacher, but the strain that I have to just lift my lovely wife up is when she comes home and she says they did it. They did it again. They changed the curriculum because a new administrator came in and we didn't understand, we didn't have the training on the last, system. And so that they've just flipped it over because somebody came up with a new thing or a new idea, or there was a higher, a business that said we're doing it better. So this one's, but they just needed to sell more product or sell a new product or justify their existence. So are these things that we're discussing fear components? I am curious now about the was there a grant that somebody wrote and got this thing brought in? Was it donated? Was it put in to some place that did not have a union? Because I could just imagine the unions just going ape over this because it's against all of the human things. However, if it's that personal assistant that over again, when my wife says she comes back with a 30 or 32, students in a class, she's just beat to death by the end of the day.
Yeah.
So if there's some way to have an assistant, the value's kind of in there,
Tamara.
not at the sacrifice of a human. You're
Yeah.
right.
Tamara, go ahead.
The other thing I was thinking about is that where we are in robotics right now is pretty impressive, but it's not completely impressive. So, like when we look at things like Neo and the robots that are going to come in and clean your apartment and do all of those things, there's actually a real limitation to them. The software is not quite there yet. And the way that it is fixed is by a real live human in home base going in and coming in and controlling. When you work in a school or you work with children, you are required to have an FBI file. You are required to get fingerprinted and have, show that you should work with children. And so when we're talking about that part of it, that is a protection for kids. Having something I would like to know more, which I don't know, about the protections that are built into this software, and that, especially given we've seen, things go rogue this week. How do we know that that these interactions are going to be good interactions? So I'm a little worried about that too, because I don't know that we have that. We have that. We're that far along with robots.
Lois, go ahead.
So I'm wondering about how much of the negativeness in this situation is because it's a human looking robot rather than it's an assistant. If it was just a television screen and people could ask questions of it or learn stuff from it or whatever, I'm not sure if we would be quite so incensed. But I think the problem, or one of the problems, is that they're attempting to make it look like a person. And the picture that they show on their little ad in there were little kids who were reacting to this person as if it was a person. And so I'm wondering if maybe it's the robotness of it that's the biggest problem.
I think you're 100% right, because I think that one of the things that we see in like children's hospital, they have roaming robots and they look like robots, and it looks like a robot and it's got a happy robot-y face, and the doctors will interact with it, everyone will interact with it. And I do think that what you're saying is exactly right. I think the reason that people feel, and that I felt triggered by it, is that particular picture that is shown is this very attractive young female robot with very little kids who are engaging with her, where it's not clear that kids understand the difference 100% at that age of what they're interacting with. And so it does feel, especially in the way that it's presented, like this is this is something that is blurring the relationship between reality and fiction with small children at the cost. So I think you're right about that, Louis.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I'm not even sure I want to take the food off the little robot that I've seen in the restaurants that come around. It's like, do I trust it? So I don't know. Put a wig on a robot. Mm,
Is that like a pig on a wig on a pig, whatever it is?
It's a lipstick on a pig.
Um, okay. Apparently our audio is a disaster. You said, Tamara, that they would tell us. So
I said,
they're telling us.
and thank you.
So who's too high? Who's too? And I'll fix myself. Am I the one who's loud?
Apparently, yes.
Well, I can fix that. I mean, goodness gracious, that's easy to fix. 1, 2,
You
3.
you
Boom.
were never
Using the
too
same
loud.
meter
You
we
were
have.
always-
There you
were
go.
always
I'm
lower
now
than
I'm
everyone.
now much lower. So there you go. So
lower than what? Lower than
how low
pig,
can you
a
go?
pig with lipstick?
How, yeah, probably. So tell me in the
So
chat,
we
please.
did better when we were doing it by ear.
By-
than we did when
that's
we were trying
exactly
to
right.
Do those meters.
Oh.
That's-
Let us know in the chat, please, if my audio is a little better, and I apologize for that. All right, folks, I'm going to push us forward here because we've been talking about the sexy robot girl for too long, I think. So let's move into yesterday. I saw a promotional video from Google about Google Slides and how now Google Slides will make beautiful presentations for you. And this morning, I saw a promotional video from OpenAI that I can go down by 12 dB. Really? 12 dB? All right, I'm going down, Mickey. There I go. I'm at 58 now. Tell me, keep coming back, Mickey, and tell me how I'm doing. And I'll move the mic away from me also. And they had a promotional video today about how now OpenAI will make your slides for you and how you can edit them inline. And I'm watching all of these and I'm thinking to myself, why? Like why are we still doing it the way we've done it for so long? In a world in which I can learn anything I need to learn from any of these tools that we've been talking about, why are we still gathering people together in meetings or presentations and showing them a slideshow and, God help me, reading the text on the slides
Yes.
to the audience? What is going on here? And
David,
yes.
you are not normal.
No, it's very normal.
What do you mean?
I think that
He's a creative.
you can learn anything from just going and finding the tool and figuring it out. That's not typical.
You think that, okay, so here, let me put forward my argument, Lois.
Okay.
I would argue that the way that we've been doing this doesn't teach people what they need to know. It sounds
Seems
to me
to have worked.
I disagree. I don't think it does. I think it's a waste of time. I don't think it does. I understand your argument. Your argument is, well, people need to be walked through and
No, and that's not my argument.
okay, I'm sorry.
It's-
Try
it's
again.
not.
And then I'm going to throw Dave in here. Go ahead.
Okay, so if I am going to show you a new tool or a new technique, or I'm going to give you an idea that you might not have heard of before, if we have all 10 of us in the same place, whether it's a Zoom meeting or in a room, we're all hearing the same thing. We're all getting the same information at the same time, and we can talk to each other about it. And it's aside from the social aspects of it, I think it is to share information and make sure that everybody's getting it. If I made, now I agree about reading the slides. That's a different thing. But if I made a presentation and I emailed it to everybody, all 10 people got it, how many would read it? I don't know, but I'm thinking it would be a lot lower than if they were sitting in the room listening to me.
Dave, go ahead.
My take on this is it's like split attention. If if a person gets up in front of a crowd and starts talking and there's a bunch of slides behind them and they're confusing to look at, they don't really make sense, and they've been put in a strange order and he keeps going back to previous slides because he forgot to mention something, it's the presentation that failed. Uh, the slideshow or the presentation in its entirety has to take into account its audience. How much do they already know, and what they, are you repeating stuff they already know? Is this a thing we talked about last week and you're just reiterating? All of these layers are part of learning to do presentations. I do presentations all the time and have done for 40 years. And one of my best presentations ever, it's my favorite one, was at a teachers convention. I had 2 sessions booked. The first session, it's only 40 minutes. My slides were automatically timed so that they showed one slide every minute. So it was really only 40 slides. And that was to keep me on task. That was to tell me the slide has changed. I better keep going and not belabor this subject. The other thing is that after that group left and my next session came about an hour later, there were standing room only. The word got around that this presentation I made was so compelling, everybody had to see it, because it only had images and quotes. The rest came from me. I was talking about multimedia, but I was cautioning that multimedia doesn't teach physics, phys ed, and that sort of thing. And I had quotes from various teachers and people who do research on it and famous philosophers. And it just talked to the people and they got to stare at that instead of me. And I think in the sense that I had a mixed media kind of presentation, it is in fact what you're trying to do is stimulate their thinking, not try and drill something into their head. Lois is right that, showing somebody a series of slides on how to build a cabinet is going to help, but really you need a guy who can say, watch out for this, and maybe that'll happen, so do this instead. And it is an augmentation on both sides. Either the slides are helping me or I'm helping the slides. So I think, we've got a problem in meetings is that people haven't learned or trained or done anything or been in a good meeting to know what it looks like. One of the best meetings I was ever in was in a ballroom with 350 volunteers and no microphone. The host was a broadcaster. He spoke in a clear voice and he didn't let anybody go longer than he wanted. And it was one of the best meetings I've been in, and I still talk about it to this day. I remember the guy's name. So it does make an impact when the presentation is good. If you're not doing it right, then you're wasting everybody's time. And I was quite taken by you prepare us, David, by giving us a lot of information before we do this. And we come ready to talk. We come ready to listen and ready to debate maybe minor points of the thing. And, despite the news taking up half our show, the portion that we came here to talk about is well researched, given to us as serious information asynchronously, and then we get to comment or kibitz and then the other part of a meeting, which in my experience as a manager and as a project manager, the first 50 minutes of the time for a meeting should actually be conversational time between people at the meeting. And then the hammer should come down. And the meeting starts 15 minutes after the attendance time. And then you have a better meeting because they've gotten all this stuff between themselves worked out. And then they want to hear what's new coming from, Dave leading a meeting. So I'm really thinking it's a behavioral thing and a lack of training, and teachers, they know how to do this stuff. They just know how to present. They get trained in how to keep attention or to watch a person wander and catch them and bring them back to the subject. And seeing a good teacher, which I made a laser disc of about the top 10 guys in Alberta, they have this magic that they can do because both their passion for it, but also they were trained. They know how to do a presentation.
Yeah. Tony.
I want to say that I think that the reason that we're sort of in this mode of doing presentations the way they've been done in the past is because we're comfortable with them being done that way. And so we're looking at technology that's going to continue to reinforce the way in which things have been done. And that's, I think, part of the problem. Part of the issue that I see when it comes to the way in which presentations are done is that it is, again, because it's the way it's been done, but most often in my opinion. People are in presentations or conferences where presentations are being done, and they're thinking about dinner or what they're going to have for lunch or how nice it is to be in this different city than where I'm actually from. And, you know, am I going to have an opportunity to network with some people that are here at this meeting as opposed to what's actually going on in the presentation?
Yeah. Sky, go ahead.
I was really empathizing with Tony as a pastor because the congregants are sitting out there running that through their heads, going, "Oh, what am I gonna have for lunch? Oh, do we have to get ahead of the Methodists? You know, we gotta, get there on time. You know, oh no, it's been 45 minutes and the pastor's still speaking." So, so the the point that's been made about getting information from one person to many, Dave, I loved your energy, but it's also you have a persona, you have a personality, but it's not just that. You're not just writing on your gift. You are recognizing that you want that important information to get from point A to many.
I
And
think it's because they come from a family of 7 and had to speak louder than the rest. That's what I think it
well,
was. Yes.
I'm the last of 5, and I was also very spoiled. So I was given opportunity to be in front of people at an early age. And what came to mind though was when the Apple Final Cut editing system came out, it had 10 books. Each of them were no less depth than a New York phone book. And after 6 iterations of that, I had to finally dump, and it was tens of pounds of paper.
I have that
That
box. Yes.
that big box exactly. And then the next time it when Final Cut 10 came out, maybe you started getting your information on how to operate this thing on a CD, or sorry, a DVD. And then the internet came along, and now you're starting to get things. Well, now you don't even get a box. You get everything as a download because if I want to know something, clickety click, somebody has a 30-second version of something that I need to know immediately accessible on a multiple of devices. And so if knowledge is what we're here to transmit from point A to point B, yes, I think things are going to be changing in a knowledge based environment in a especially with the ability that we have now with all of the communications no longer going through copper but through the ether.
Yeah. Tamara, go ahead.
I think some of it is the fact that we don't have a clear understanding of what a good meeting looks like. So we see lots of different things where these presentations are used. We see big, keynote addresses and, they should look a certain way. Those are much more production heavy. But there are a lot of meetings where we've just been having meetings for years, not really understanding if we should be having that meeting. I mean, I worked at a company where literally they had the meeting on a Monday with the executives, and then they had the exact same meeting on a Tuesday with the executive's assistants, and the executive's assistants would go around and say the exact same thing that their executive had said the day before. Like that was the meeting. And I was like, wait a minute, are we literally saying the same thing 2 days in a row? Like, do we have to have this meeting? And people had never stopped to think that we should not have that meeting, that was just not the way to go. So I think some of it has to do with that. So the one thing that I can say is that because not everybody is good at it and not everybody is, some of these tools that they're trying to give us are a way to allow people to have access to tools and to information they don't have. It still doesn't change the fact that most people present like they're in the 6th grade. Like I was a 6th grade teacher, 6th grade speech where you start learning how to present. A lot of presentations in present day still look like that. They don't have a clear purpose and they don't have clear slides to match them. And I think that that is a very real thing, but I think it really starts at the meeting level.
Lois.
And
Lois,
I
go
bet
ahead.
you, Dave, you were not the first. That was not your first speech, was it? That was
You're talking to me?
Dave Troutman.
Oh, no, I've done presentations in high school and elementary and all the rest. So
So
yeah,
you were
it's
seasoned
no big deal.
professional in,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so that you got a following was not because of your personality. It was because it was
The
interesting
message was
information,
interesting. Yeah, and it was useful to them.
information and useful. And so there was a value there.
Right. I think I could
So,
demonstrate or articulate what I was going to teach them, and then I showed
and
them.
that's not everybody's gift.
They
Lois,
can't
go ahead.
No, and I had to learn it. Yes.
So in our show notes, David Paskin gives us a bunch of thoughts and ideas. And I want to read this one sentence. For decades, organizations relied on presentations, meetings, lectures, and conferences. Remember that word, organizations. So when we're talking about a meeting, I think we have more than one meeting that we're talking about. If you're in a large organization, if you work for a giant company, then a meeting there is different than if you're in your little community and you're going to have an IT committee meeting. I had one this afternoon. And we're on Zoom, we're getting together. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Well, because we have work to do and we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and we want to help each other make decisions and that small little group is a much different meeting than a company-wide get together. So let's break them apart a little bit. The big meetings, big organizations, and then the meetings like we're going to have a meeting. Maybe it's a family meeting. Maybe it's a church meeting. They're different, I think.
Fair enough. Tony, before I call you, if it's okay, I just want to, again, if you're watching and you're in Mukana, please let me know how the audio is. We're trying to make that better for you. So I apologize again. But I wanted to highlight Peter Sargent said something interesting. And then Dave, you also said something interesting. And to me, in many ways, they are not opposite, but they challenge one another. So Peter's comment was, a good meeting is an interesting question, which I love, right? And I can imagine, gathering my temple community or my school community, and the agenda is a really good question that we can just dive into and dig into and talk about, and no action comes out of it. It's the value is the question. And then Dave, you said it should be to accomplish something. If that cannot be articulated, the meeting should adjourn. And so I read both of those, and I thought how interesting, right? That one way to think about the value of a gathering or a meeting is just a really great question. It just in I don't know how to say it in English. In Hebrew, we say l'shem. Like you just do it for its own sake. And then there's Dave, and I'm with you here too. And maybe the answer to this is what Lois said, is that it depends on the meeting. But
yeah, it's not fair to Peter Sargent for me to comment, but I agree with his that it's either an interesting question or it's task oriented. It's an action item kind of meeting. But in deference to Lois, her religious meetings doesn't have a lot to say.
yeah.
Well, I will.
Sky, hold
I
on one
will-
second. Let me just get Tony, if that's okay, because he's been waiting. I'm sorry.
Go for
Tony, go
Tony.
ahead.
Well, I just wanted to add on to what Dave had said about the whole idea of not a lot of text on the slides, and that there should be images and things that make people think about the presentation. I think that one of the problems that we have, and I'll continue to say this, is that we are, because what Lois said about corporations and companies and stuff doing presentations, it's the way it has been always done. It's the way that's always been done. But what I want to lean into is that I was teaching a Bible study, and I'm using my ATEM, and I have picture in a picture, and I'm doing some things with the slides, right? And then and then I pulled a whammy on them, and I use Michael Forrest's video pencil. And so now the slide is behind me. I'm up in the corner and I'm writing on the video, and the entire presentation shifted because I was using this tool that I'm going to say forced or strongly encouraged people to pay attention. The problem with it is that even though that was effective, even though that worked, when it came to other people, they said, "Well, that's just Tony. That's the way he
Right.
does stuff. He's going to embrace the technology and just wow us, right?" So next week we go back to the same old thing. So that's the problem that exists. We have to find a way, or we should suggest a way to pull people, those of us who are embracing technology, to pull people with us when we are trying to, you know, Dave needs to teach a session on, you know, you don't have all of this text up there. You have images, you have things that point you in a direction that make you think about the presentation. If you're not doing that, then it's the same old thing. So I really just want to lean into this whole idea that we have to be more conscious of trying to pull people along with us.
And going along with that, and then Lois, I'm coming to you, is how are people, what kind of engagement, what kind of meeting, what kind of presentation, what kind of speech actually helps people retain the information that we're trying to give to them? Whether it's a product release or a church meeting or a class, what is the best way? And we have research on this. We have research on how people learn. What are the best tools to make that communication as effective as it can be? Lois, go ahead.
So we've been talking about what we don't like, or at least what some of us don't like. And let's talk about where we can make improvements, what we can do, just like David just said, where are people going to learn? So I would say let's think about meetings in several ways. There's the meeting which is called because the group wants to get together and hang out with each other and socialize and improve their relationships. And that's fine. I mean, having a potluck, it's a meeting. Okay. Then there's the meeting where there's some information to be shared. And maybe that kind of meeting might be better off being done as a webinar or as a recording that it gets sent to people or as a repeating, how shall I put that, on a screen in the front hall of the building on repetition so that people who walk by can see it. And then there's the meeting where we're doing something together. So those are all three different kinds of meetings. And I think maybe different ways of implementing them might be useful. I'm particularly partial to the social meetings. Meeting for eating is what we call it when we have a potluck.
Oh, I like that. Meeting for eating.
You can use it.
I am going to use that. Tamara, go ahead.
I think one of the things I agree with everybody, and I'm going to push back. I agree. I do think we have to pull people along and give them more tools to be more confident. But really, what we need to do is make people become more confident in digital or live spaces to be their best, most authentic self. And one of the reasons that these tools persist in the way that they do, which for us is like, that's not the most effective. There's research, there's all of these things, is that people are not inherently comfortable speaking in public, or they're not inherently comfortable as presenters. Dave, Tony, like you guys are all great presenters. You don't need any of that stuff. That stuff just makes your presentation better, but you could stand up in front of a room with absolutely nothing and you would still be engaging, and you would still have conviction, and you would still grab your audience and take them with you. So that's not true for everybody. And so when we're talking about raising people up, we're talking about not silencing voices who have something really important to say but lack the skill of being able to say them, particularly since a majority of our meetings are not big presentations. A majority of our meetings are small groups of people in conversation with each other. So I think that like we have to keep both of those things in mind. And so our frustration that things aren't scientifically based and they're not using the technology that we want them to use also has to balance with the fact that we don't want to silence voices because they don't have cool tools. We want people to be able to come and be comfortable, and getting them more and more comfortable, which Tony, like you're the perfect example, right? You came to office hours, you were not comfortable in this space, and people guided you and helped you to become more comfortable. But you were a good presenter prior to that. Whether
Yeah.
prior to having a microphone, you were still someone worth listening to.
By the way, I also want to mention Vic is asking if we're only going to focus on meetings in real life. I was actually not thinking of those at all. I was actually when I was talking about slide decks, I was
Yeah, I was
thinking
thinking
about in Zoom and things like that, because I haven't been to a in real life presentation in 6 years. But I'm bored out of my mind at digital ones all the time. Sky, go ahead.
So once upon a time, I'm pulling a David Troutman here. There were hard drives that were this size and they would maybe hold a terabyte. Well, then came along a smaller version of that, and this would hold maybe 6 terabytes. And then comes along even smaller for scale. This is my head, this is the hard drive. And so all of these different items that I'm juggling now are physical examples of a hard drive. Consequently, I've now given you scale, I've given you an example, I've given you a prop, to Dave Troutman's point, and these are visual aids to get communications of an idea from point A to point B. And so this is where the screen has trying to take you from one place, the person speaking from one place, ideas, information from one place to another. But I really want to go ahead and go. Paskin, can you bring me all back into the group, please? Because your comment about your people group that gathers and has gathered and has the origin of it's has been around for several thousand years, correct? If I'm not incorrect in the Hebrew tradition, and please correct me if misspeak. The Methodist Kansas kid may not know all of the history of what you teach, but you are, as a people group, uh, when you gather, is it not a historically a thing that you would ask a question and have a dialogue? And this is where, having been a part of many, many different traditions of people groups gathering and being in their Sunday morning services, the smells and bells, the holy rollers, hanging swinging from the ceiling. I've participated in all of those traditions, and consequently, uh, there are dynamic people from a pulpit, and they would carry a visual aid, and it's like, oh, and then we moved into projections onto the screen, and then we now project. We don't even project anymore because we got big monitors because they become cheaper. So all of this finally comes down to, does it move the story forward or does it get in the way of the story? So there's my punchline of all of this technology is only as good as what does the audience take away.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
would say both.
Yeah.
Absolutely both.
Let me get Lois in real quick and Dave, and then we'll come over to
So
Tony.
part of your, as a presenter, as a teacher, part of your responsibility is knowing your audience. Um, we have a genealogy club here in town, the Davis Genealogy Club, and we were last summer going to do a program on how to get started doing genealogy. And I knew that the the people in the room, and this was in the room. There was also some folks online, but it was mostly an in the room thing with a slide projector right behind me. So I'm sitting here, the slides are right up there, and they were all used to slides. But I didn't want them to just sit there and stare at the slide. So what we did is if there was a form or something to look for, like looking for a birth certificate, and then there's a picture of the birth certificate up there. So what I did is between those slides that were informative, I simply had a blank color, a medium blue color. And so when I was talking about that thing, that went up, and then it changed to medium blue, and people have to look at me again. And it was it was an unusual thing. I hadn't seen it done before, but boy, it was really effective. People were, you could watch them looking up and then looking back, and it it worked really well. People afterwards came up and said they liked it. So there's always new things that we can try.
There are indeed. Dave, go ahead.
I was going to bring up the problem of formality. The technology we use now forces us into a formal process. This group here is comfortable interrupting each other. This group here listens to each other, but we're all staring straight ahead. And in a real meeting, you're not. You're looking up and down the table. You're seeing reactions. You're seeing people who aren't, they're opening envelopes and looking at other stuff. But you get a sense of where everybody is with it. And with this kind of mediated presentation, it's very difficult. Sharing a slide, sharing pictures or other images, putting yourself in a little circle in the corner. These sort of design elements of what we do are meant to enhance what we got to get across, but at the same time, they put us in a box. And I think part of it is like divided attention was what I mentioned earlier, where a person's staring at a screen, then they're listening to the person. Sometimes they're not listening to the person because what's on the screen is more interesting. And as well, they're not listening to the person because what's on the screen is not interesting. But we're doing a lot of button pushing. Even in, with this new hub we've got here, we're pushing buttons again. We're looking in one direction constantly and trying to address the camera so that we can make a connection with the person. I think in the same vein, it is enhanced asynchronous in that we can quickly deliver or distribute and share information. We can put a whole slide deck together and give it to everybody before the show, the big show, and they can have an opportunity to provide input. And if that input will produce a change, well, then we've enhanced the meeting for everybody. And in some cases, you've got, how do I put this? It's sort of like saying, here are the decisions we got to work on. We've got an agenda with these 4 things we have to decide, and that's what the meeting's all about. And then people have a sense of what their contribution is going to be. Either they feel like they can or they can't. And in a lot of cases, we have, even in office hours, we have people who are there prepared to answer a question. And in after hours, they're hanging out waiting for somebody to engage in a discussion about movies or whatever happens at that time. And then they jump up and take the reins. But in a lot of cases, you've got people who are attending meetings simply to say, I was here. And in my case, I've never actually liked having a small group like 8 of my animators or my designers sort of nod off. And so I take them to task for it like a teacher would, where I kind of think, have you brought enough for everybody, whatever it is you're chewing on, and that sort of thing. So it is, I'm with Tony. We're all in the area now, with office hours being our model, of being able to show people what they need to know to be more effective. The last thing I wanted to mention for me is that being able to do presentations properly is going to give you an advantage in business. It's going to make you the person they go to. It's going to make your presentation stand out from everyone else because you took training. As both Peter and Vic have said, their companies sent them out to learn how to do this stuff. And they wanted their companies, their staff, to be able to stand in front of a customer and tell them what they need to know. And it's not sort of thing like a call center with the script in front of you. It's more a case of, can you think on your feet? Can you make a presentation or speak from the heart? Can you connect with people quickly and get across your idea and hear their idea and turn it into what it is you're talking about? And so I think those who are fumbling through are going to find themselves falling back. And if they want to be ahead in the business, any business, architecture and otherwise, they've got to be able to get up and show. And one of the reasons I know this is because I had a course I taught on project management, which I called Asking for Money. And it required every student to get up and do a presentation. And they were really upset about this being a requirement until one of the guys got up, one of the students got up and told the rest of the class, grow up, wake up. You're all 22 years old now. If you can't do a presentation by this time, you're going to be digging ditches. And he said he was in engineering at university, and every day we had to do a presentation. It isn't like it was one day in the whole course. It was every day. And it's what you have to do.
Practice, practice, practice.
I'm thinking about the different shows that we do in office hours, and one of the things that makes this show unique is that we don't have a back end. That is to say, it's just me on my laptop, and that's not that's not about pride. It's a different style of managing these things. And I remember in the early days of office hours, Alex would often talk about, you shouldn't TD and host at the same time, or you shouldn't do because the multitasking just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It was I think his argument, and I would sit there listening to him and say, "Wait a second, I can do everything." I can't. I get lost, when I'm having to press buttons, when I'm having to, and I do my best to really listen and really be focused and pay attention. But so one of the things that I think about a lot is that this kind of multitasking that I'm doing is one type of multitasking, but there's a whole other type, which is that when we don't grab people's attention, and this is especially in digital space, when we aren't able to grab their attention, then they're on their email, or they're on their text, or they're in ChatGPT building a show hub while using a show hub and making changes to it. And by the way, the panel should refresh their show hub. And and what I've always, and sorry, I'll stop after this, Lois, then you'll be up. But what I've always said to myself is that if people aren't paying attention, then I'm not being compelling enough, or what I'm doing isn't. I'm not sure that that's always fair anymore. Lois, go ahead.
So my husband asked me, "Oh, and what are you going to talk about today?" Because he never wants to be on the air, but he always likes to know. And I told him when he was talking about meetings and things, and he said, "Yeah, I remember when I was in my office and preparing the slides for a meeting that I was going to be doing, and a coworker came in and she said, 'Oh, you don't need to practice. You're just so good.'" And what he didn't say to her is, "That's because I practice." So anybody who's doing a presentation can get better.
Dave, go ahead, please.
Well, I was going to react to your suggestion that you think you can do it all and you can't. I was just thinking that we were back to tech therapy here. You really got to take a few things out of the show, and then it'll be easier to do. That's all there is. You've plugged a lot of things into this show. You've got a news intro, you got an intro, you got a countdown, and and all the boxes. Like this is automated now, but at the time, building it all up and doing all that stuff. I mean, hands off. I've seen your setup. You did a whole half-hour tour of it for me once back in the Y2K kind of time. I think we're at tech therapy at this point.
Well, we
But
are,
I think that it's just a different type of show. Like I think that is the whole show.
It's
is
a Zoom
kind of
call
a
as
show.
far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's just a
It
big Zoom
really,
call between
yes,
us.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And so I guess I would be curious for the people who are watching. This would be whether you want to share it now or during the week in Discord or wherever. I'd be really curious. I mean, what is it about this, if anything? And I don't want to be presumptuous. What is it about this that is compelling, that does keep your attention? What about this? Maybe a better question is what about this gets in the way of that? Does having a more formal, structured, me calling on people, or the host, whoever that is, calling on people, lend itself to a better experience for you, or do you like a little more of a chaotic, Zoom call conversation? What about the graphics? That silly news intro, does that get in the way of your engagement in what we are? Because essentially, this is a presentation. That's all this is. Does that get in the way? Does it
No,
enhance
it's not.
it?
It's conversation.
It's a conversation,
Absolutely.
right?
It's a roundtable conversation amongst peers and people that have survived a thing together. We've learned to trust one another. We've learned to accept one another. We've learned to love one another. And these are earned values.
Yes, but what
And
all I was suggesting, Sky, is that we're essentially doing what Peter suggested a while back. This gathering, this meeting is we have a good question, and we're spending that hour and 15 minutes, just sort of talking about that question. And
that's the facets of a diamond is we get different perspectives and different
absolutely, what
histories.
I'm
And
curious,
this is the value of collaborative experiences that we're bringing it from Florida, we're from Seattle,
right?
from Atlanta, from
And so there's
California,
there's our
brilliant
experience,
ages,
there's our
ethnicities,
experience,
genders.
but then there's also the audience's experience. And so
love it.
for example, Red Cabin Acoustic Official says the range of perspectives about the topics
There
is
it
why
is.
I come back. The content and experience you all bring. And I'll tell you something, Red Cabin Acoustic. By the way, I want to know what instrument you play. But a lot of what I do, a lot of what I try to do is disagree agreeably, right? I try and play as often as possible devil's advocate because I think that's where real growth and learning and engagement comes from. If we all agree with each other, there's really why are we here? I don't even know what we're doing.
So the secret's out, Dave. You see,
I'm here for the paycheck. That's all I'm
That's
here
it.
for.
Hey, Tony.
103 shows. We finally told it.
Tony, take us home.
And I'm the counterpoint.
Yeah, I think that,
Yeah, we all just get
part of it is the genuineness of the conversation that we have formed together. I think that is I think the design things, the graphics and things that you bring are eye-catching. But I also think that the most important thing is that we have authentic conversations. We don't necessarily agree, and that's okay. We're going to come back next week. We might have had one person that was over here, another person was over there, but we're going to come back next week, and we're going to continue to have conversations, and we don't have to agree. And I think that's a good thing.
And there you go. As usual, Tony brings us home. And Red Cabin Acoustic records acoustic instruments and sound effects mostly, electric too. And he's the chief operator in FM station. Very cool. Good to have you here. Good to have everyone here. And Mickey, try us again next week. I will try and do better with our audio. I apologize. We were just kind of out of balance. Some of them referenced this thing called Show Hub. OpenAI and I collabed on a ChatGPT and I were working together on a little thing, and we got to tweak the meters clearly. But really grateful for all of you being here, for being a part of the conversation. We're a part of Office Hours, and Office Hours is here all the time. So tomorrow morning, join us. We got questions and answers and good stuff. Although not officially part of office hours, tomorrow afternoon, we're in the Zoom test kitchen. We got a nice Zoom graphics toolkit release this week, which we'll definitely be diving into. And every Thursday, we have these gorgeous people here, just being a part of my life and yours. And yes, my daughter, Dave, is up in Canada. I should have mentioned that at the top. She's visiting. Dahlia, where are you? I forget. Vancouver, I don't know. She's somewhere. She's somewhere like way up north. She could see the northern lights. That's how north she is. Is that north, Dave?
That's north of 60 usually, yes.
Yeah.
So she's in the Yukon or northern BC or somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. All right. There's a delay in YouTube, so she's not answering right now. But she'll, after the show's over, she'll let me know where she. You'd think, actually, now that I'm saying this out loud, I should know where my daughter is.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you're? Great.
Uh-huh.
That's what. Thank you,
My
Lois.
daughter
No
turned
judging.
the feature on the phone, so she always knows where I am.
Oh, that is actually I
turned
have
it on
that too.
on
I could look her up
In
also.
self-defense, because we would keep texting her, "Are you here yet? Are you here yet?" She says, "Stop interrupting me. I'm driving."
It's
So
enough.
now we can follow her all the way across the state.
That's scary.
Technology
friends,
is wonderful,
It's
isn't it?
wonderful. It's you know
We
what's
have an-
you know what's coming next.
It's scary when you embed it into the
A
skin.
beautiful AI robot to be with your daughter
Ah.
everywhere.
As long as she doesn't get to come on the show.
everywhere she. Oh, that would be cool.
Oh, we need
Look
an
at that.
AI robot on the show.
We need a
Yeah.
robot on the show.
They're doing that.
Thanks
now.
for coming, everyone.
Or one of those Roombas.
All